started here. I know this morning we're going to talk about cuckoos. Everybody says I am, but and I admit I do work on cuckoos. Before that, I wanted to plug a couple of things. I've got stuff all over my floor. I am the proud owner of the new museum calendar. I promoted this last week. Just some great things from the museum collection, and then a code on the back, scan, and you get 12 more images. It's a good thing to go out and purchase this because it provides funds for our museum. And I will put the link to that again next week. Chapter 23, somebody from chapter 23 I know will get in touch with me because they're saying that they have the 32nd annual Clock and Watch show in London, Ohio is on November 6th. But that's a Monday. Things that make you go, The Clocktoberfest.
Yeah, but
yeah. So the Clocktoberfest was a great success this last weekend. I was there. Thank you, Tom. What a wonderful explanation. The display that you did of all the different stands that might be used in restoring clocks. And Bob, thank you for your show and tell of that old clock and talking about the Wooden Works clocks. That was a great discussion.
You're welcome.
Did anybody tune in to the S-Town Zoom meeting? The tour of the it was
forgot all about it.
It was Sunday, but in the middle of the afternoon, a walkthrough and a discussion of some of those clocks. It's just amazing that one guy could do all that and still hold on to his mind. Well, he didn't hold on to his mind. He did a little bit too much mercury and gold, I think. But so that was good. The Mid-Eastern Regional, which is November 3rd and 4th, that's a regional within reach of us here in Louisville. So that's why I like to talk about it. There's other regionals and things popping up on the message board, events, and you may also be getting emails that say, hey, here's the Arizona something regional. It's just a way for national to get the word out of all the different things that are going on. So, Bob, did you have anything you wanted to plug this morning from the board?
I think the Florida Midwinter already sent out its registration form. That's not too many months away. That was a great show last year, and they're having it at the same facility this year. Had a good, I think, a pretty good hotel rate, and had a tailgate. I think for one of the first times, and very successful. As you notice, Chuck's joined me. Hadn't seen him all morning until I got on the Zoom meeting, and here he comes.
Yeah. Well, and Sherry, I know you want to put a plug in because the national convention next year is in your neck of the woods. And I saw something that said it's not too early to make your hotel reservations.
It's not. In fact, if you really want to come, we weren't able to reserve a lot of rooms at peak. We just have 80 rooms in one night at the host hotel. So if somebody really wants to come, they need to get their reservations in pretty soon, because we didn't want it to cost people $200 a night with the taxes and everything. So this way it's like between 150 and 160 a night, which is kind of like, Bob, it's kind of like Florida. That was about that expensive down there, but so we held it to a lower amount, but holding it to a lower amount, we could get less rooms.
Yeah.
in the block.
Yeah, and that's the skill of negotiating.
Yeah, you don't know which way to go sometimes.
That's right. 6 of one, half a dozen of the other, one way or the other. Ed Brown, I want to thank you for your post on Chapter 140's Facebook page about the Clocktoberfest. I'm a big promoter of inter-chapter relations, where geographically close chapters should be helping each other and promoting and doing all those things. So I want to thank you, Ed, for doing that. So,
No problem.
So I know at the Clocktoberfest, Beverly, you have brought 3 clocks and had questions about finishing the cases. So I think we're going to have a discussion on case finishing in the coming weeks. So that'll be something to look forward to. This morning, I went nuts. There were people at the Clocktoberfest that were asking questions and were exclusively collectors of cuckoos. So I said, well, we better talk about cuckoos this morning. So that's what brought it on. I have some examples here, and I wanted to first start off with publications. There are 2 publications that I promote when somebody comes to me and says, how can I figure out how to fix a cuckoo clock? This is one of them. The Cuckoo Clock Repair Made Simple. This is the Cuckoo Clock Repair for Idiots. It's filled with pictures and simple explanations, and mostly the regular movements, but it gives you a good idea on how to set up the cuckoos so that they operate correctly. Another publication that you can find at a lot of the big marts, I've picked up several of them, is the Black Forest Cuckoo Clocks. And what's nice about this, not only does it talk about the cuckoos, their songs, and then the different movements and all, but it has a section in it that if you have an old cuckoo, you can identify it by the cutout of the plate. So who made it, whether it's a her or whether it's a regular, or who made it. Yeah. Gustav Becker actually made some cuckoos as well. So I'll put links onto those and the titles and all of those books if you have an interest in doing cuckoo clocks. Now, I'm going to show a couple of things here. Cuckoos come in different sizes. They could come in this size. I letter them. I call them an A, B, C, and D. This is what I call B size. There's actually one that's smaller than this that has very small weights and all, but this one has a count wheel movement in it. They don't all run on count wheels, and so that's a small one. Then you have them that come a little bit bigger. I took the crown off this because I figured I couldn't fit it all in the, but this is a big clock. Cuckoo clocks for me are not very reliable timekeepers. They can be, but they're not very reliable timekeepers. They are the simplest forms of automaton, which is a mechanical entertainment. And that's because when a cuckoo comes out and starts cuckooing, everybody in the room stops, turns and looks. When it's all done, they go back to what they're doing. They're short time entertainment. So when you're putting together a cuckoo, you have to get the right size weights for them to operate. They're a simple, typically a 3-gear train that requires muscle to keep it running. They come in weights that are this size. They come in weights that are this size. Those that are 31-hour cuckoos typically have 3 gears in their train and will run on smaller weights. those that are 8-day cuckoos require larger weights because they have an additional gear in the train. You know, they're the movements are, this is a rack and snail movement. This is a regula. This is probably the most typical movement that you'll see in 80% of the modern cuckoos. No matter what they're doing, you'll see this movement. In the older and the larger cuckoos, you'll see that the plates get cut out to a specific design to identify the makers. This one is a count wheel on the back. It's just they get larger, the chains get heavier, the weights get heavier, but they're all about mechanical entertainment. When you're looking for cuckoos, there's typically, when you look at a box, they're labeled like the bird trio, which will have a bird up on the top of the crown and then 2 birds on the side. In the catalogs, that's what that's called, is a bird trio. Then there's the hunter. The hunter is motif is very recognizable because it usually has antlered creature on the top, a rabbit or a bird hanging that has been hunted, hanging on the sides. There are cuckoos that are not only cuckoos, but they are quail and cuckoo. So you have a whistle and the cuckoo bellows going on for the 2 different birds. So it'll have 2 doors that open. Another one that has 2 doors that opens is the cuckoo and the zither. The guy who comes out, he's got a zither on his lap. Typically they have a music box in it instead to make the song for those. And I want to thank Tom because I've only seen a couple of them, but I picked up a couple of magazines that Tom was handing out free on Saturday, and very clearly explained the quarter-hour cuckoo. And it doesn't cuckoo the number of hours, but just comes out and goes cuckoo at the quarter hours. So it's a very quick entertainment. But the movement that works those is a little bit different. It doesn't have a count wheel. It has looks like a propeller on the back of it, but those are great. Once you get into cuckoos, there's 100 motifs. There's the lumberjacks, and they're sawing wood. There's the water wheel that turns on the side. There's the, I call it the elopers. Because there's a ladder on the front with a man climbing up the ladder. When the lady comes out the door, the man with the pitchfork on the bottom is poking him. There's lots of entertainment, and that's what I think cuckoos are. Did you want to chime in, Tom, with your experience with cuckoos?
I've got one on my test stand right now that has a cow that moves over to the little creek to drink while the chime is going, and then once the chime is done, it backs away from the creek. So yes, there's all kinds of motifs.
The deer
one that I have
up and
is,
down. Yeah,
is a 3-weight. Never seen one like this. It has a separate platform for the dancers on the top. So then to get the power up to that, it has a endless loop of chain that goes from the platform down to the music box. So a little bit unique, but
yeah, that's it. Bob, in all of your clocks, do you have any cuckoos?
No, I don't fool with them much. I wanted to ask one question. I've always been under the assumption that the smaller weights for the 30 hours and the big weights, the heavy weights for the 8-day. And one time I had some parts out and I said, this is an 8-day because of the weights. And so he said, oh, no, that's not necessarily true. And I don't know if they were just trying to get me to come down on the price or if that was true. So, well,
this is a 30-hour movement and it runs on this weight.
Okay.
And it's just how much power you need to drive the mechanism. What
I have an older 30-hour that is driven by the same weight, very heavy. In fact, one that I got from Ken Lewis. But it is kind of odd. I'm not quite sure why. As you were explaining earlier, Frank, you've got the three-wheel train versus the four, but this is less wheels in it, but it still requires that heavy weight.
Mhm. Yeah. This one just has the drive wheel, and then it only has 2 gears, but it has that big heavy weight. So could be the tolerance. These are cast plates in this big one, and maybe, you know, the sloppier, the more weight you need. Yeah. Sherry, do you have any, I think you're closest to the woods down there in Tennessee. Do you have any cuckoos that come out of the Smoky Mountains?
No, we used to have one because my daughter always wanted one. So, well, you know, but it quit working some time ago, and I don't know where it is. It's probably in the trash.
No. But I've been told that there are places like in Arkansas that have these huge stores that are nothing but selling new cuckoo clocks. And Dollywood or the Great Smoky Mountains have them because they're kind of, people think about them as the mountains. Now, in doing research on cuckoo clocks in the past, the cuckoo bird is actually different. This one has a bird that actually lifts its wings and does that, but it has blue markings on the side of its head and shoulders, and that's a great cuckoo. And the great cuckoos nest in the woods. So on the front of your cuckoo box, if you're going to match them up, it should have oak leaves. The other one is yellow, has yellow markings on the side, and it is in the farmlands. And so the outside of your box should have grape leaves on it. And if that's taking this cuckoo thing a little bit too far, yeah, I'm kind of cuckoo about it. But yeah, a lot of fun. They're a lot of fun. One other tip I wanted to give, because I was asked about it. When you have a cuckoo box, and they're predominantly all brown. They do have them that are spray painted and have like yellow and orange and green. They're modern ones. But if you have an old cuckoo box like this and you want to refinish it, I have found that the solid pigment deck stain is this color brown, and you can put it on. I know my wife's cuckoo is people comment about it all the time. It's very old, but it was completely redone, the case and all, but that's what was used, was a solid pigment brown deck stain. And I have a jar of it if you need, anybody wants some. Doesn't take much, takes a while for it to dry, but it does a great job in coloring the cuckoo boxes. So is there any questions about cuckoos, Beverly? Are you thinking you're going to dive into cuckoos?
I don't know. I've looked at them before, but I've wondered, how do you tell what's an old one and what would be a good one? There's just so many out there.
The best one is the one that works.
I would think if you found one with cast plates, you're probably looking at an older or higher quality movement. Most of them are just the stamp brass regular stuff like that.
Yeah. Okay.
You see indentations in the brass on, but yeah, you'll if you look at the movements, you can usually tell just by the quality.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, and they can be bushed. They can be reworked. Springs can be remade. Most of the tension springs in them, I rewind them with just little spring wire, and makes them work wonderfully. Wonderfully.
Yeah, the supply plate. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I was just going to say that probably the same thing you're heading for, Bob, is on the modern movements, you can find replacements as well to just swap out the first movement that Frank held up, that Regula 25 is very readily available. So they're, you know, if you can restore them for yourself, that's fine. If you're doing it for profit, it's probably going to be better just to swap out with a brand new one.
Yeah. And if you're going to, one of the things that I look for when somebody brings me a Cuckoo and wants it rebuilt, this is called the star wheel on the back. And it has the fingers that stick out that actually lift the arms that do the striking of the gong and the cuckoo, you know. So the star wheels on some of the cheaper movements are pressed on, and with a little torch and a little heat, you can get them off. But it's best if you have, and if I ever take them off, I replace them with one with a set screw in it, so that they're easy to take off. And with that set screw off, you can put that star wheel on and synchronize the arms that do the entertainment much easier.
Speaking of the Cuckoo, you were talking about the variety of clocks. The other thing is the sound of the bellows. The real small ones have a much higher pitch, Cuckoo typically, and the larger ones, you can get some pretty low tones with the Cuckoos, the large bellows on them. Very, very interesting to hear.
And the clock supply houses also sell the replacement bellows as well as the material to replace a lot of the early ones. I don't know how the new ones are leather, real thin leather, and they tend to deteriorate after probably 50, 60 years, and they sell replacement material to reline them so you can get them to hold air again.
Yep.
Yeah,
the newer material, I think, is along the lines of Tyvek, which is like the white suits that you see people dressing up in to go into a paint booth or something like that. Ken Lewis gave me an old Tyvek suit that he had around, and you can get a whole lot of bellows covers out of one of those suits.
That's right. They, in fact, in the literature that I shared, they have patterns for.
Yeah, we call that New England siding. You go up to New England and you see all these houses with the house wrap that they've never finished the siding on. So,
and Tom is right. I got a leg off a Tyvek suit, and I'm still using it. So, but it's a good practice to learn to fold that, where to glue and where not to glue. It's just part of the fun of horology and restoring clocks and things that go on. That's great. Well,
Frank,
yeah.
I can ask, you said that the Regula 25 is the most common and least expensive, or typically very inexpensive. Is it labeled Regula somewhere so I can make sure I got the match?
Yeah, when you look in the back door, you'll be able to see, let's see if I can get this to focus. But right here, it says Regula.
Oh, okay.
So, and there's different models of the Regula. There's a Regula 34 and just a wide variety depending on the different configurations. But yeah, that 25 is used in a lot of the smaller clocks.
And that's from what most people say about Cuckoos, is it's a real joy to work on them. Much easier to just replace. So I happened to cross one. I didn't know what it was. And I thought about working on it, and I pulled the movement, and then I thought again about working on it.
They're really not that bad. They're not that much different than any other clock once you get into it. Yeah. It's mainly just a matter of understanding the synchronization of where things have to be when it ends that cuckoo strike process. That sequence.
Gathering palette.
I see.
That's right. So and that cuckoo clock repair made easy explains exactly how to set up the gears and where the pins need to be and put the plates together, and then it's just putting on the gathering pallet in the right location and pressing it on. Don't be afraid of them. They're not as small as a watch, So you can do it. You can do it. Well,
Forget watches. I can't see anymore. So tiny.
Yeah,
cubits
that
make
that
me
regular
crazy.
25 is a pretty good place to start with trying to repair those. Where it gets a little more complex is when you get into the music boxes that they trigger, and then the music box parts for those is very difficult to find, or replacements getting much more difficult to get the exact replacement to swap out. So
Great. I appreciate it. Thanks.
yeah. And
Sure.
Also, as far as the collectability, if you ever run across a shelf cuckoo at an estate sale that's not ridiculously priced, buy it, because they are very, very collectible, very
Right.
expensive. And really,
And-
new cuckoo clocks are very expensive. They
Oh,
really
yeah.
are.
12,
You get
13,
some really good deals.
$1,500.
Oh yeah, easily. Yeah. So keep an eye out at estate sales and flea markets, stuff like that, because you can pick up some good ones for a song sometimes.
yeah.
But
And
the shelf cuckoo is one that has no weights, correct, Bob? I mean, they're spring driven.
I think they're spring driven. They'd have to
Yes.
be. Yeah.
mhm. So you don't have to worry about whether it's this weight or this weight. So, well, as I promised, we were going to talk about cuckoos a little bit this morning. I hope that we inspired people to go ahead and try to fix one. My best tip is when somebody's at a mart and he's got a whole box full of busted up cuckoos and he's like, I'm not fixing these. You say, well, I'll give you $5 for the box. Then you'll have all kinds of things to play with. But it won't drive you cuckoo, I promise you. So I think I've worn that out. So as you go out, yesterday I was out and I got my shot. There's vaccines and things out there to keep us healthy through the winter. And I encourage you to go ahead and do it. If you got the arm for it, go ahead and do it. Other than that, remember, there's all kinds of things to catch out there. So if you're in a crowd, mask up, remember to wash your hands, and please don't stand so close to me. But we'll see you next week. We're going to talk about watches, and we have clock case finishing coming up in the next couple of weeks. So have a victorious week. Enjoy sharing horology.
Everybody take care. Good to see y'all.